Hi, everyone. This is Dawn Richard, also known as The Awakening with Dawn, and this is the Wake Up to Real Love podcast, where we share stories of struggles and triumphs in love, sex, and relationships, along with expert advice to create more conscious connections. I am really, really honored today to have my new friend and colleague, Kenny Mammarella-D'Cruz. He is the founder of MenSpeak's men's groups and was dubbed the Man Whisperer by Newsweek. For the past 20 years, Kenny has created safe spaces for men's voices to be heard, empowering men to open up and talk about mental and emotional health issues. Kenny is a regular commentator on men's mental health issues in the media and also runs training workshops for practitioners and the public on how to facilitate men's groups. His podcasts, which include live men's groups in the studio and basic tools for conscious communication, can be downloaded from www.mensgroups.co.uk. Kenny, we have a lot to talk about. Welcome.
I'm already enjoying sitting with you and just being in this space. So thank you.
I know that getting real, being real, and being present is really, really important for you. And so I'm honored to do that with you.
First thing I notice is on your right shoulder, there's an angel that says, live the life you've imagined.
Yes.
And one of the most painful things I notice around is the way that people are doing and surviving their fears and their fantasies and trying to fix things. And and it's so kind of not just toxic, but competitive. Mm-hmm. To me, it's very, very much like boy behavior. Mm-hmm. And for me, the man behavior is collaborating and receiving and responding rather than reacting and being. And I find that if there isn't a being space, and for me, it's kind of similar to the life that you've imagined. It's that space of sitting with who I am in the universe, in peace, right here and now, mm-hmm. to allow some space for magic to come in, mm-hmm. for imagination or feeling or heart to expand and reach out, and for that frequency to somehow be responded to, bringing signs, maybe temptations, opportunities, coincidences. That being is so magical. And that's where the life that's been imagined and the life of dreams, I believe, can show up. And then it's up to me, or it's up to us to notice it, to be a good Columbo and respond to it, to take part in the dance of life.
Yes.
And what could be more intimate?
Yeah, well, I think that's where people get stuck, is they're so busy with, the responsibilities and the ways that they think that they should be. I know I've heard you say, who am I? Right?
Yeah.
I'm too busy trying to figure out who am I rather than just being the I am.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
From am I to I am.
Uh-huh.
And I would say am I is the addiction that so many, not only individuals, but even parents, grandparents, communities, countries, societies have, is like handing power to the outside, mm-hmm. and asking, am I good enough? Am I going to be humiliated, abandoned, rejected, etc., etc.? And it's like, am I smart enough? Am I loud enough? Am I glitzy enough? Am I pretty enough? Do I have enough likes? Mm-hmm. It's all the power outside. Mm-hmm. Where is anyone supposed to meet who I am if I don't exist apart from what you make me? And for me, switching from am I to who I am is, at least I have a sense of self. And from my sense of self, I can extend myself to where you are, and we have somewhere to meet. Mm-hmm. And then we can start the dance of life. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, it's like, am I this, that, and the other? And it's all like fear and fantasy. And it's that gap that can cause so much pain in the separation that people, especially these days with social media, leave alone, you know, the whole big car and big house and bling and everything. It's like, when I'm good enough, then I will take part.
Mm-hmm.
And all the energy is into separation and being good enough to take part rather than taking part.
Mm-hmm. But
Crazy.
don't you think, I mean, because of your experience, and I want to talk about, you know, your takeoff and landing yesterday and today, because of the anniversary of you leaving Uganda with your family as a young boy, you know,
Yeah.
all of those struggles and challenges and traumatic experiences, that caused you to have fear in your surroundings, and, you know, probably within yourself too, you know,
Mm,
so that all of those things, um, basically, like, are blocks that create this fear and sense of separation,
mm,
that separate you from that I am.
mm, mm.
So you want to
Yeah.
talk about how you, like, went through that experience to to overcome those feelings of fear and separation.
Yeah. Well, I guess my story's a little bit dramatic in places.
It is, yes.
Where when I was 7, my family were on the Idi Amin Secret Service death list.
Mm-hmm.
So we had phone calls, we were followed, our phones were tapped, death threats, and we went into hiding. My grandparents, so my family's from Goa, so we were brought up Catholic Portuguese. And my grandparents went back to Goa to find that Goa doesn't actually exist anymore. It was taken over by India, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a very different land. Their property was taken, and that was another mess. So we wouldn't be going there. And then it was like, well, we are somehow contaminated, dangerous to know, because we were on the death list. So we could really not be in touch with other people. We went into hiding. My father was left in Uganda. We didn't really expect to see him again.
Mm-hmm.
He told me that you may never see me again, and you're the head of the family now. You have to take care of them. Meanwhile,
At age what?
that was seven,
Yeah,
maybe 8, 7.
you have to be the man of the family at age 7.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
And, you know, in a way, it was normality.
Mm-hmm.
It was what it was, rather than, oh my God, this is a big deal. It was
Uh-huh.
what it was.
Uh-huh.
Now that life is safe and we're all doing fine, we can afford to stop and look and feel and talk about it. Then we had to survive it.
Yes.
And to talk about it, to stop, might be something that tips one of us and therefore possibly all of us over the edge. And then would we make it?
Mm-hmm.
So after that, we ended up in refugee camps here, here being the UK. My father was smuggled over to Italy, so he escaped execution. Um, and he joined us here much later after running refugee camps in Italy and organizing a hunger strike and things over there. And we ended up moving into a small town in Wales because it was Catholic, and it wasn't north because north is cold.
Mm.
It wasn't cities because cities are race riots and not safe. So we were brought up amongst English, Welsh, Irish, Italian, which is what we were used to in church in Uganda anyway. So
Uh-huh.
it was good. And I had various mental health issues, from obsessive compulsive disorder to body dysmorphia, Tourette's, trichomania, and various other things, eating disorders, suicidal thoughts, so they might have one less mouth to feed. Um,
Do you think that that was all of your fear, just like all of your
um,
fear, like holding it in your body?
that, I would say, was I was in an impossible situation that I couldn't fix.
Uh-huh.
And boys like to fix.
Right.
And I was, as the oldest boy, there was the Oedipal thing going on. So I was the special golden boy.
Mm-hmm.
For 3 years, I was the only boy. So I was used to being sensitive and in a way responsible for the emotions of the women, my mother, godmother and grandmother, and also adored by the women. And there was a kind of codependent, enmeshed relationship that happened that we didn't see as wrong or bad. It was fine. It was normal.
It was normal, right.
And it was a little bit John Boy Walton, you know, do. So I wasn't really one of the adults.
Right.
I wasn't really one of the children.
Right. You were in between.
And I wasn't really even male or one of the men. So it was in limbo. It was kind of in between. Mm-hmm. So with that, I could respond to and step up to doing these things as normal. And whatever it was that I was feeling, I internalized it. So I guess the obsessive compulsive was trying to be in control of the outside world and trying to make sure that no harm is caused or felt by anyone and taking all of that on. And that's quite a dramatic story, and there's more and more to it, and you know, the various adventures of. But on the other hand, you could say it's a very normal, ordinary story, because it's a boy enmeshed with his mother who's sensitive and wants everyone to love each other and be happy. And the family is a decent family, therefore second guessing what other people think and wanting to be part of community or not excluded, which might just come from, I don't know, playgrounds from how many generations back. So in a way, mine might be more dramatic, but maybe because there was love, it was less dramatic than someone from an alcoholic family with just one parent, or where there was a death or something. So I could milk my story and make myself so special and glamorous.
You are special and glamorous, Kenny.
But, you know, I'm not sure that would be as helpful. And maybe having a special glamorous story gets me in front of people, so I can say that actually these feelings and these thoughts and these issues are universal. And whether I'm male or female or masculine or feminine, it's the same. It's the issues that we have. And we are the same. And it's like, I was, I guess, lucky that we were poor, because I needed to somehow sort myself out. And I needed to learn how to unlearn these things and unlearn my restrictions and pains and fears, and naturally pass it on. And if I didn't have such drama, then maybe I wouldn't have these tools and I wouldn't be able to pass it on. So shall I tell you my cosmic understanding fantasy of how...
Course. Of course, I'm all about cosmic.
So I have this fantasy. I mean, for all I know, it's written in a book somewhere. I have no idea.
The book of love and truth.
It could be.
Yeah.
The good book. Where I agreed, or I believe I agreed, to come here, this time, this place, this reality, to contribute certain things, to experience certain things, to take part in certain things, maybe in love as well as in pain,
right?
And to kind of have these intense experiences with other beings, and especially the pain ones, because I believe in order to share pain with someone and not abandon ship, especially if they're not family, because it's not that easy to get away from people who are blood family. But if it's chosen family and we still stay through the pain, then that is a really loving relationship to go through pain and forgiveness and stay the whole hog and learn the lesson and move through it. Not necessarily that you have to always be together, but to be together for that lesson, that depth, that catalyst, that's mighty important.
Mm-hmm.
So my fantasy is that I agreed to come down to these things, but when I come down, I wouldn't be able to bring all my awareness with me, because if I did,
Right.
I wouldn't be able to have the experiences that I want.
Right.
So then if I can set myself little dramatic bombs, and those bombs, like, I don't know, death threats or mental health issues or whatever it is, are things that cause me harm that I cannot ignore,
Mm-hmm.
then I've got to somehow make peace with them, unlearn them, and set myself free.
Yes.
And what I found out for myself, and with pretty much everyone I've worked with, is as I unlearn these things that might have been true then, or they might have been fantasy then, or whatever, but here and now they're not, or they've passed their sell-by date. As I unlearn these things, I pick up my tools, and my tools will enable me to walk my path and make that contribution.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my cosmic take. Maybe I'm still a control freak, but that's my cosmic take on how it works. And you know, the one other huge thing that I didn't expect to happen is that also set me free of my judgments of other people.
Yes.
Because maybe I'm here learning this now, and maybe the people I judge have had that in their cosmic bank account forever.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just here for another experience. So yeah.
I believe, I mean, I think I had told you about my traumatic marriage. You know, I mean, that was my biggest heartbreak experience in my life. And, and all of the people that I have been connected with most recently, it is all of our pain and suffering that has helped us remember our truth. And this is like overcoming those fears of rejection and abandonment and feeling unworthy and not enough. And it's really developing deep, deep honor and compassion for who we are as humans. And it brings us the sense of understanding more about myself, so that I can in turn try to understand you better, and come to this place of love and acceptance right here and right now of myself and everyone else.
The thing that strikes me as you say that is a very male thing and a big problem. And I guess one of the reasons I do my work is to be met in your pain and to be met in your trauma takes another person who is willing to feel their own pain and trauma and therefore have the depth to meet you. And what very often happens with males, if they go to their friends or wherever a lot of males go, if they're lucky enough to have friends, and so many don't these days,
right,
is they will say, suck it up.
Exactly.
Have another drink.
Yeah.
Don't be so silly.
Right.
Get over it.
Don't be a wuss.
Exactly. And there's the whole man up thing. And the whole man up thing, I've needed to turn it around because, man up, but man up and talk about it.
Yeah.
Man up and step into your power through your vulnerability.
Yes.
And what you're talking about with the people that you know, and I think also the people that I attract, is we are willing to know ourselves and meet other people there, so we can set ourselves free, because that's the difference between living and surviving.
Right.
And Groundhog Day is an old movie.
Yeah. Very old.
It doesn't have to be a way of life.
Well, I feel like that whole suck it up or put on a brave face or whatever it is, it's denying the truth of what's going on internally for you.
Yeah.
And I know that, you know, this whole masculine and feminine thing, you know, there is so much more awareness of, and I'm going to have a whole dissertation about this, is that, you know, when the masculine and feminine are disconnected within yourself, if you're denying all of these aspects of yourself, it's hard for you to embrace it in other people. And so
Yeah.
that's where I feel like people continue to pretend and hide. And you know, women in general have had more of, it's been more socially acceptable for women to express their feelings. And
Yeah.
that's why I know that your work is so important, because you are giving men permission to experience the whole of who they are.
Do you know what? One thing I would really like to explore listening to you now is I'd like to tell you my boys to man thing, and I'd like to know from your side what's the females, what the female equivalent is. And I feel that boys very much, it is competitive, and it is fixing,
Mm-hmm.
and it is reacting, and it's very, I can't be female or seem to be female in any way.
Right.
So there's no listening, there's no collaboration.
Huh? What did you say? No, I'm just kidding.
Exactly. And with the men include the feminine, so we can receive and feel and respond rather than fix
Right.
and not feel anything. It's all fixing and fear and reacting. So
Right.
a man includes the feminine. And it's very strange the way people call these, or us, more feminine men, or men in touch with our feminine sides, because surely a man who's not is a boy.
Mm-hmm.
So is there a female part to that? I mean, is it something like all feeling but no? I don't know. You tell me.
Well, I
The difference between a girl and a woman.
well, the difference between a girl and a woman, I feel like, is more reactivity as well, and chaos. And you know,
Oh,
if you think of a teenage girl, you know, or a teenage boy, I mean, they're both more impulsive, more reactive, more
yeah.
in their own world, but not in their own
Not embodied?
embodies. Yeah, not embodied.
Ah.
And so, and I think this has been an issue for women as well, because we have had to, in essence, manage the emotionality of our male partners and our male children. And it's
Mm,
so women, in essence, I think, have become more masculine, more
yeah.
more doing, more doing,
Yeah.
more giving, more action oriented. And
Mm,
so this is why I think that women are now trying to get in touch and find that balance.
yeah.
I'm tired of doing so much. I want to just be. I want to use my intuition and my femininity
Mm,
to nurture and create this sense of community, and
mm,
allow men to to show up as men
mm,
and
mm.
not boys, because I feel like a lot of men act like little boys.
A lot of men have abandoned little boys in them, and the man
Uh-huh.
in them hasn't showed up to
Yes.
take care of this little boy. So they send the little boy into the world, or to women saying, take care of the little, be my mummy.
Yes.
And I guess a lot of women or girls were so good playing with their dollies that they just want more dollies to punish, and I'll be your bad mummy. And, it's stuck in the playground. And one of the most important things I feel I do with men is, once they understand everything, why everything happened in their life and why they are in the situation they're in, no more questions. That can be done relatively quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But what they don't know how to do is, now I know, how can I be differently? How can I take part in the world differently? And how can I manifest the world that can meet me, rather than the world that I'm used to surviving.
Mm-hmm.
That's the shift from the inside. And this is where they know the boy in them. They know the protector in them, who keeps creating the same trouble because it knows how to survive that trouble.
Right.
And therefore there is control.
Right.
But what they don't know is how to know the man in them, because something magical happens every time I introduce someone to the man in them who can take care of the boy in them. And then that man can meet the world, and the boy is no longer sent in to do a man's job. Plus, the hugest bonus, and as we are cosmic twins, I know you will get this. The huge bonus is once that man is established and that boy is safe, or that child is safe. I mean, this has got nothing to do with gender.
No, right.
And that spark of energy, that pure child, before the spirit was fractured or broken in any way, that's the part of God that can whisper in the man's ear that they call intuition.
Yeah.
And that's the alignment and the connection, the first inner connection that can allow true outer connection. And then things fall into place, I feel.
I so agree with you. I feel like this little boy is, and little girl, is the child within us that has a hard time understanding our emotions. We don't understand what's going on internally. Therefore, we act and react in very childish ways. And I think this is what happens in a lot of relationships. It starts with a feeling in your body, I believe, that you feel some anxiety in your stomach, your solar plexus, your heart, your throat, this sort of constriction, and you don't know what it's about. You don't know really what's going on inside of you. And instead of going away and trying to figure it out, I think a lot of people just go blah, right? Onto the people around them. And so then it becomes an external thing, or a blame game, or why did you do, as opposed to, oh my gosh, I'm feeling this sense of anxiety. I'm feeling triggered. I'm feeling abandoned, like the time when my dad left me and, I didn't see him, or I didn't have any contact with him. And this is where, I mean, my work as a therapist, was a lot of times really about reparenting yourself.
Exactly.
Right?
That's where it begins. And to an extent, that's probably where it ends.
Well, it's like you become the great father and the great mother.
And I love that it happened today with a client where I spoke to his protecting part. And his protector, after we got to know that this part showed up when he was, I think it was 7 years old, because suddenly he's away from home and he's in school and it's vulnerable. So a part needed to show up to meet the world and protect that spirit. And that part has been pretty much running his life ever since. And that's not a bad thing. It's just that,
I mean, it's a way to survive. It's a way to protect yourself.
Exactly.
Right.
And the protector not only needs to know when the war is over, but the protector needs to have another part to work with. And what generally happens, I find, in people's lives is the protector is full of second guessing and fear, which can be a huge addiction, and doing a very, very good job to keep this spirit safe. And then it keeps the man/child young, at quite a young age, putting up on a good front, pretending to be a man and carrying on. So I asked how old the boy, the man in, not the man, but the man he was presenting to the world was. Same age, 14, but pretending to be older.
Right.
When we had the conversation, we moved to know the man in him, it was such a different situation where that man, just sitting in his being, in the present moment, not fantasizing and fearing the future or being freaked out by the past,
Right.
but being here and now, present and connected in this moment, safe.
Mm.
And I asked his age, and it's like, actually, it's 42, it's my age.
Yeah.
And he was himself. But what the switch that hadn't taken place is the man in him was still waiting for permission by the dominant protector. And they didn't know how to work together. And the protector would fear something, jump in and take the life over, and that was it. Where now the protector can second guess what might happen in the future as the man walks forward in life, in vulnerability and in power, even if it's one step at a time, which it needs to be.
It always is.
And with every step, it's a different landscape.
Yeah.
So the protector can inform the man rather than freak out that poor spirit. And the man can, this is the feminine, the man can receive it, listen to it, ground it, and respond to it.
Yeah.
What a relief. That's where the life really begins. And that makes space for other people to come to the party rather than this codependent survival thing that recreates the same story with different players.
Yeah, I think that's that whole amygdala fight or flight. You know, it's
Exactly.
that ego and your thoughts spinning these tales of war and destruction and fear and separation.
Yeah.
You know, and that's that little boy who just wants to throw punches, right?
Yeah.
And protect himself and be sort of in control, have, you know, like build his own fortress around him.
Yeah.
But we are created to be connected.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
So how do we you know, push aside those fears and really integrate the wholeness of who we are so that we create not a fortress, but like a bridge of safety and connection so that we can be, you know, with ourselves and be with others in a real and authentic way.
What I've realized is that I need to accept all of this, including, and I'm very embarrassed to admit this, including my inner Trump and my inner Boris. I need to accept them. Because if it's in my world, and they are, then it's in me.
Right.
And I hate to admit it, but it was me all along.
Right. I know that's the shadow that you go, ooh, I don't like that, but I am that. And how do I deal with it?
Exactly. So the more I can accept my dark shadow and turn the volume down, and my fear feeds off the dark shadow.
Yes.
My fear actually energizes what I want to go rather than what I want to grow. So I need to take responsibility for that and accept it, because if I push it down and I push it away, I'm actually feeding it.
Right. And I think a lot of people don't understand that. It's like what you repress, it's just expressed in other more negative and you know, unhealthy ways.
And if I don't accept it in me, then I'm going to demand that other people show up in my life.
Right.
And they express it for me.
Right.
And then I'll point the finger at them and make them the wrong person. Meanwhile, it's my codependent relationship. If only I accept parts of that part of me, it doesn't need to come up in relationship or anywhere else. So it comes to me and I can turn the volume down. And then I get to move on. It makes space for the goodness. And as I accept my dark shadow and I unlearn what's not true, then I have space to energize my golden shadow of what I want more of. And I don't need to deny the good stuff. I don't need to think, right, until I am enlightened and perfect and the world is wonderful, I will not be happy and I will not have blah, blah, blah.
Right.
It's right here and right
Right
now,
now. Yes.
because there only is right here and right now. So,
Exactly.
yeah, big one to learn. And what you were saying about, I guess, intimacy in a way is I needed and need to be met here and now,
Hmm.
irrespective of what's going on. And I had no idea about boundaries. I was I was like Barbie's Ken doll. I was a plaything for the girls,
Uh,
basically.
hey, most guys really wanted to be that anyways.
But that's the scared boys. The scared boys do want to be that, and they'll probably complain about it, but then they'll feel safe
Uh-huh.
and they'll get a fix of love or sex or food or being dressed up or whatever it is that they want. So
Uh-huh.
that's their fear. But do the men feel met and connected? Do the women feel met and connected? Or
No,
is it just playground fixing on
just
the
playground.
surface?
Right.
And that's a shame. But I realized that, and I can't blame my family or me or anyone, that that's how I was. That's the best that my family and I knew.
Hmm.
So I was responsible for the women, but it helped me to turn into my own man and realize that if I have boundaries, and I thought that boundaries were barriers against people and only bad people have them. But then I realized that boundaries are so intimate that it's verging on rude when I first realized. But it's an intimate place where people truly say, this is where I am, this is where I'll meet you, not more, not less, but let's meet here and then enter the dance of intimacy to see where we want this to go, if anywhere. But finally, I got to meet the God in me, got to meet the God in you. The
Mm.
playful minx in me got to meet the playful minx in you. The businessman in me got to, and so it goes on. But we met somewhere true and real, rather than playing, there's the game of, I have no boundaries, I'm all love, blah, 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 and then bitching behind your back and suddenly disappearing because I don't know how to communicate.
Yeah. I
And that's not very adult.
No, I think that that's why most people struggle in relationships. It's this navigation of who am I? Who am I? I am,
Yeah,
right? and
yeah,
and your boundaries is defining I am.
yeah.
And and do you see me and acknowledge me and understand me and accept me as I am?
Yeah. I
And
think
that's it.
before that as well is, can I see me and acknowledge
Yes,
me and accept
yes,
me?
of course.
Because so often I find, especially as couples are together for a while, the pattern, and maybe this is just the pattern that I've attracted, but the pattern in my clients is they go together on their merry way and it's all razzmatazz and love, and maybe they have kids and whatever it is.
For
And
18
then
for 18 months. Razzmatazz for 18 months.
very often honeymoon period. And then she moves forward and she continues to be her, but he doesn't quite know what to do
Uh-huh.
or where to put himself. And it's like, how do I do this? I can't be charming, I can't be cheeky. How do I do this? And he doesn't know how to be who he is, so
Mhm.
she has someone to love. Meanwhile, especially these days, women are a lot more empowered, a lot more self-aware,
Mhm.
a lot less taking of abuse and hoodwinking,
Right.
with a lot of very, very good role models. It's amazing. You have got it good. Meanwhile, we have a lot of boys making a lot of noise, and some
Yeah.
of them are very good at marketing and sales funnels and making themselves famous and stuff like that. But for me, it's not about who's the smart ass leading the way. It's, are you being empowered? And it's about individuals stepping into their own power.
Mhm.
So what often happens is the woman moves on and the man gets lost. And it's like, my tricks aren't working. She's outgrown me. I don't know how to do this. How do I fix this? And so many men come to the men's groups thinking, how do I do me right?
Mhm.
Meanwhile, you can't do you right, but you can get to know who you are and let go of who you no longer need to be.
Right.
Then there is a you to be loved. And that's very I am. And it's amazing for me how the women are much better at this very often than the boys, who then hopefully become men. And then meetings can happen.
Mm-hmm. I think this, I mean, as you're talking about this, I'm thinking about my ex. You know, like I
Go on,
wish,
spill the beans.
I wish that he would have turned to somebody like you, because I believe that a lot of men are lost in this, you know, because
Yeah.
they show up as men in certain ways, you know, like going to work, paying bills, you know, taking care of family responsibilities,
Doing.
but really don't know how to take care of women's emotionality and take care of their own emotionality. You know, so
Exactly.
there's this huge block of to intimacy, and this
Yeah.
is one of the reasons that I struggled in my own marriage. Is like, you know, I can rely on you for a lot of things, but I can't rely on you to take care of my heart. And if you
Yeah.
can't take care of my heart, even though I ask you over and over, or give you ways of how you can do this for me, you know,
Mm,
because to meet me where I am, if you're
mm,
not willing to meet me where I am, then what's the point?
mm,
And
mm.
it's really sad, because there are a
Yeah.
lot of men with these, you know, good men who just have not taken care of that boy
Yeah.
and truly embodied all of their manhood.
Yeah. I'm very clear that there's male and female, but really it's about masculine and feminine.
Yes, yes,
And we have very different hormones. Um, and it's very easy for men to say, I do not understand women's hormones. And to an extent, maybe we never will, because we don't experience them.
right.
And maybe we are just not built for that level of complexity and extreme, whatever it is that you go through. But a lot of people, including men, will ignore our own hormones
Right.
and testosterone and the attention span. When I went through a change of being more of a feminine man when I was much younger into more of a masculine man, I lost my ability to remember and juggle millions of things at the same time, and that precise holding of spinning so many plates. And but my testosterone and my ability to um, respond quickly or react if necessary, to make a quick, sharp decision, through the roof. So it changed. It really changed. A lot of boys are never shown how to not be owned by their dicks, but
Yeah.
to own their dicks.
Yeah.
And that is an unruly boy who doesn't know how to hold and grow his creative energy.
Mm-hmm.
That's power to step into.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not bad. It just needs to be harnessed, same as all energy. It needs to be harnessed and directed. And then we have things like women have menstrual cycles. I say men have menstrual cycles,
Right.
because we can go a bit crazy when the full moon brews
Right.
a few days before, and the testosterone or the vulnerability or the fear or the need for a fight or the need for sex or the need for drink or some sort of yang behavior is just off the scale. Again, a man needs to show a boy how to harness this, how
Right.
to take care of himself, how to make safe. And then when men get older, there's the whole midlife crisis. And suddenly they feel, oh my God, this. A friend of mine made a t shirt for me that says, what was it? Um, it was something like having a penis is like being chained to a wild man or a madman. It's like, this thing can take ownership,
Yeah.
and it needs to be not tamed,
No.
but owned,
Right.
understood. And when the curse for some people subsides and they become older and there's space for them beyond this crazed animal inside them, then they might think, oh my God, thank God I've got my life back, but what's wrong with me?
Mm-hmm.
And then they start pointing the finger at going, well, you're wrong with me. It must be you. It's not me. Rather than accepting their aging,
Mm-hmm.
rather than accepting their grounding, their wisdom coming on, their ability to be more present. And how much of this is actually talked about? How much of this is held? How much of this is taught? It's so important.
Right. I feel like the sexual energy is the creative energy, right? It's the life force. Through women's sexuality, literal birth occurs, right?
Yeah.
But men um, have not figured out how to use their sexual energy in a creative and expansive way. And I feel like a lot of men use their sexual energy as a way to find connection and to gain, the nurturing and the vulnerability that they're not socially conditioned to express and to want and to desire.
Yeah.
So it's integrating all of those aspects of themselves to, to just fully embody your creative power.
And some men do that and do it
Yes.
very well,
Uh-huh.
but it doesn't sell products
Right.
or boost the media. The media loves the loud, stupid boys
Yeah.
because they can easily buy product and get addicted to things.
Mm-hmm.
They can easily sell papers and titillate everyone. They can easily be blamed. And that's boyish behavior. There is no man there. It's
Yeah.
boyish behavior.
Yeah.
So I believe that men have this projection and the shame and the guilt and everything else put on us. And where do the good men go? And it can often be said that, and I've experienced this, where in arguments and they get into arguments, it could be confrontations, it could be discussions, the man will back down and not take part. And everyone will believe it's because the woman is right. It might be fairer to say the masculine and the feminine. And the feminine mind is incredibly articulate. And this isn't right or wrong. This just is, with all the concepts and all the layers and everything's in order, and it just makes precise sense. And that mind wants to be met so it can be understood and grow, and things can be more connected, and the alchemy takes place. Meanwhile, the more masculine mind just doesn't have that capacity to slow things down and plot. It's almost like it turns from a minefield into a minefield, because the masculine will come in and want to take part and start exploring from there. But wherever that mind takes part will be wrong, or will be unthought of, or will have a layer or a tangent or something that might cause offense. And I'm not saying any of this is right or wrong. It's almost like different languages.
Right.
So a lot of men will back off thinking that is a minefield and I won't win. So I'm going to step back. So there is like that common meeting place. And I don't believe that such complicated issues always belong in the mind. I believe that if there is a connection from the heart,
Yes.
then there's less to be said.
Yes.
There's more to be felt, explored, or even just fall into place to allow things to naturally and honestly flow. I remember when nonviolent communication became very popular, and being in the south of England, what a wonderful tool for manipulation and passive aggression. It was outrageous. When I feel,
Yeah.
I need, would you be willing to? It's crazy. Until no one says a word, until there is a heart connection.
Yeah.
Then there is no passive aggression. Then there is true connection. And we're on the same side for the magic to happen.
I just read something which I wish I had known when I was married, because I said this a lot during my marriage. I said, I feel like we're in competition. I feel like we're in a boxing ring and we're competitors. And somebody just wrote, you know, when they're having a disagreement or a conflict, that they always stop themselves and say, wait a second, remember, we're on the same team.
Yeah.
And that's that heart connection. Where you,
Exactly.
and instead of, you know, pointing the fingers and blaming and all that kind of stuff, it's like, wait a second, this is where we're supposed to meet each other. It doesn't matter all of the external things. It doesn't matter if we have differences of opinion, which I think a lot of times people say, well, if you don't agree with me, then you're not respecting me or honoring me. That has nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
I honor you and I disagree with you.
Yeah,
We're
honoring and loving doesn't mean colluding.
Yeah, we're two different people. We have two different ways of viewing the world. I thank you for sharing your perspective, and thank you for listening to my perspective. All it is I see you, I hear you, I understand you, I accept you. Whether or not I agree with you is not the same thing, but all of that agreement and acceptance is all from the heart. You know, I want to be connected with you. We are still facing in the same direction.
Absolutely. You know, another thing that we were talking about the protector and there not being any space for the man or for downtime. Head, give me a break. And one thing that
not that head, this head.
Exactly. Yeah, totally. That head, it's like, give me energy.
Yeah.
But stop owning me.
Yeah.
But one thing that so many men have said is the time that they are not owned by their protector, when they can be free or connected or take a risk and not fear humiliation and abandonment, play, express, is after a drink. How interesting that it takes, because of a lack of inner communication, inner awareness, or ability to manage things from the inside, that it takes a certain level of intoxication in order for the off switch to be flicked and for there to be space for the man to exist. And so many males have said or realized that they don't have any idea what their needs are. They don't know who they are. They don't know what they need. All they have is a second guess of what's expected and how to survive. But they suddenly exist when there is an off duty. And it's kind of shining a different light on drinking. And as far as I'm concerned, drink, drugs, work, whatever it is that people are into, sex or whatever, can take an edge off so a man can survive. But this is just at such a high and toxic frequency. There are other ways of making being time. For me, it could be walking in the forest, breathing, meditating.
I was going to say deep breathing, like just stop and take a few deep breaths.
Yeah.
Like bringing yourself back to this present moment.
Yeah. And for things to pass, it's laughing, crying, moving. But one of my favorite ways of being is ironing my shirts. Ironing.
Really?
It is so grounding.
You want to come to my
relaxing.
House?
I don't do pleats. Like, you know, with all this do, click, this one, that one, what do I need to stop? And, you know, I can have friends around. I have had parties from my 20s where at some stage everyone's having a good time. And I'll think, right, you know, what's missing? And I get out and everyone would carry on having a good time. But, you know, it's my party and I'll iron if I want to. Whatever floats your boat, as long as there's space to be.
Yeah.
And to know the needs and to take personal responsibility for the need.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's it. It all comes down to this. I mean, I say this at the end of my podcast every time. The most important relationship you will ever have is the one you have with yourself.
Yeah.
So it all comes back to you.
Yeah.
It all comes back to you taking responsibility for your own internal being, you know, and recognizing what's coming up for you, recognizing what you need, recognizing your triggers, you know, all of those ways that you need to show up as the man you are, as the woman I am, so that I am fully embodied as my integrated masculine and feminine, and just being present in this moment.
Yeah. Yeah. Way beyond our genitals, there's a time and a place for every party.
Yeah.
And so many people try and fill the hole with all sorts of craziness. Meanwhile, my emotional hole, and filling it with drink, drugs, sex, money, love, whatever, it does not make me whole.
No. No. I mean, that's the, to me, all of those things are a way to escape the hole. You know, it's a way to numb and hide and pretend.
Get a fix and move on. Get another fix and move on.
Right.
And doesn't the media glamorize that and normalize that and make an awful lot of money supporting that?
Yeah. But this is what we're here to do. You know, we are here to show people the truth, the way, the light.
And what a very, very well ironed shirt looks like. That's the OCD in me, surely.
You can come and iron my shirts anytime, Kenny. Yeah, what beautiful work you are doing.
Thank you. You too.
Yeah, I mean, how do you help women come meet men where they are? Or is it just about showing men how to show up?
Yeah,
and women coming along for the ride?
I must admit, I get a lot of emails from women as well as from dating companies saying, we need good men and we know you have some now, hand them over. Which is the biggest possible compliment.
Yeah.
And it's true. It's totally true. But it's talking about the whole again. A whole man can attract and be with a whole woman. A whole woman can attract and be with a whole man. And I've got a few kind of relationship type exercises, and they're so simple. I mean, there's one very basic one of write a list of everything you want your ideal partner to be and to have and to express, and all of those wonderful things. Be very, very, very clear about that list. That's the first step. And the second step is be all those things.
Yes.
Because then he or she is not going to be your shadow to fix everything.
Right.
Then you are stepping into that energy and attracting that energy.
Yeah.
And then the next one is write a list of your day-to-day stuff. Like, and realistically, because it's fine to say good sense of humor, I love going to the theater, but if there's nothing to laugh about and you're always working and your family takes over and there isn't a theater in your town, then what is this nonsense?
Right.
But the day-to-day is stuff like, what do you like to do in the morning? What do you like to do in the few minutes that you have when you pass each other on a Saturday afternoon after you're doing your thing and he or she is doing her thing or his thing? It's that basic essence the flavor of the connection. I mean, sure, there's the stuff as well that you love to do when you're spending time, but I'm talking about the essence, the flavor, the texture, the quality of, I guess, both love and hate. Because I think it would be very healthy for people to every now and again be close enough to project the hate and own it and unpack it together and grow from that, rather than nicey pedestal and then I'll turn on you later. It's like, that's unaware. But let's get real. Who would you like to have in your life that you can be in pain with and still trust? That you can close down to and have closed down to you and still show up when that passes, because all things need to pass. And for me, that is real.
Yeah. I want somebody to be a safe container for me when I'm feeling chaotic and unsafe. And I want to be able to be that safe container for somebody else, to show up however they are in that present moment and be able to express their truth. And for me to say, wow, that must be really hard for you. Thank you for sharing. I'm just bearing witness to who you are in this present moment. And I'm still offering you my heart.
There are two things that I'd like to say before they slip my mind, and they might before the end of this sentence. The first one is a very simple little trick, follow the feeling, where when I'm triggered by anyone or anything and I want to lash out or go hide and go invisible or whatever it is I want to do, rather than taking it out on the drama or situation in hand, it's up to me to take a deep breath in and follow the feeling. And usually in a breath, in a split second, I will know the time, the place, the incident, or the stage in life that really needs healing or accepting or taking care of, that the adult in me, the man in me, needs to say to that part of me, it's okay, I'm here, it's no longer going on, and integrate that and move on. And I believe that the pain that I demand in my life is, as I want more, something will come up saying, please release me, let me go. And other cheap Engelbert Humperdinck songs. Because when I do, when I accept that, when I know that, then I am available to much more of life. The other thing that I wanted to say, and this has certainly saved my relationship a lot of hassle, and so many marriages that I've worked with, is when the other person, when your partner comes debriefing the pain and the sadness and the sorrow and the turmoil and everything, before opening your mouth and jumping in there to fix it, say, do you want me to listen or would you like me to do something? And very often it's no, just listen. And that can be quite challenging for a boy or for a male, because that means that I have to witness you in your pain and feel my pain and just sit with it and be with it, rather than rescuing and stopping the pain.
You don't have to do anything. You just have to be here with me.
God, I feel like a grown-up today. But the man in me really knows how to set the boy in me free to play.
I mean, that's what I want in my life. It's like I want to express all of these aspects of me so that I can explore and have these great adventures and these amazing experiences and feel all of my feelings alongside. And I would love to have someone hold my hand and walk with me along the way.
My wife and I, when we find ourselves in a deserted hotel corridor, we look at each other without saying anything, with a little cheeky twinkle in our eye, and we pull our hands out and we hold hands and we skip. and it's very rare that we get caught. But it's like, it's break the spell of thinking and behaving and like set your spirit free.
Yeah. I mean, that's the beauty, I think, of true love is that you can be completely free and be completely connected simultaneously.
Yeah, it's 200% at least. It's not 50-50 in this country. So many people say my other half or my better half. And I'm thinking, well, that's a bit of a bad deal. What, two for the price of one? But it's going to be cheap.
Right.
I'd rather have one good one.
That's what I say. I say 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2. 1 + 1 = infinity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the alchemy of love.
Yes, it really, really is. I think we need to have many, many more of these conversations, Kenny.
It's been so easy. It's been so great to hang out in this sacred space.
Yeah. Thank you so much. My last question that I ask my interviewees is, how do you define real love?
How do I define real love? A definition for real love? Probably, I just can't define it in my head. I think it might be more from a feeling just below the layer of my skin, the top layer of my skin. I think that's where it is. And that can be triggered by anything from touch to a sound, to a memory, to a smell. There's another way also where it's when I'm on the verge of tears. This is getting a bit soppy, isn't it? I mean, there's also the fun love stuff, but I love the way that I drink water quite a lot, especially in interviews and things, because my heart can open so much. And the opening is just like it's connection. And then tears want to flow because it's just cracking freer and flowing. But you know, if I started crying all the time, then it would be a distraction, and then it has to be processed. So I'd rather be connected and just have the odd tip.
So if people want to connect with you more, Kenny, and find out more about your work, how do they get in touch with you?
I have the manwhisperer.co.uk as a website. And on the Man Whisperer website, I really need to update it because it's a bit of a shambles, but I think it's under Work With Me or something like that questionnaire, which is a really handy way to like get your story out of you and know yourself better. It's a nice first step. I also have mensgroups.co.uk, and with mensgroups.
Can you repeat that? Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, that's right. So there's the manwhisperer.co.uk, and with the manwhisperer.co.uk, it might be under Work With Me, but there's a link where you get a story out of you and just taking the first step of living into a new story. And under, is it stopped again?
No, it's going.
Oh, good. And under mensgroups.co.uk, you can download the ground rules and the check-in round, so you can start your own men's group straight away. There's a few videos and things, but men's group, schmen's group. Women can use it. Groups of friends can use it. It's about conscious, connected communication.
Yes.
So mensgroups.co.uk, the manwhisperer.co.uk, take the freebies, click buttons that make you connected to me and say hello. And breathe into goodness.
I am so thankful that we had this conversation. I mean, I'm so glad that we connected in London, and I feel like there's more to come.
Yeah, Here's hoping.
Here's hoping. So if anyone would like to connect with me, you can find me at the Awakening with Dawn, and of course the Wake Up to Real Love podcast. I'm sure everyone who listens to this conversation will be clamoring for more. So subscribe and share with all of your friends. I mean, both Kenny and I are here to embrace the all of who we are, you know, our authentic selves, being real, and integrating all of those both masculine and feminine aspects of ourselves so that we can be fully embodied and show up and have the most incredible life and create the most incredible connections with both ourselves and with others. So, you know, as I said earlier in the podcast, the most important relationship you'll ever have is the one you have with yourself. And it's obvious to me, Kenny, that you have an amazing relationship with yourself. So I really appreciate you coming here today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So thank you. Thank you, listeners, and subscribe and wake up to more real love every day. Take care, and we'll see you next time. Bye.